think Ms. Campbell, you said you had received it.
Yes.
I have not received it, so this may be an indication of connections. It says I'm connected to Microsoft Exchange. Let me check on this. Yep, I am. It looks like I'm on the VPN. I'm just not getting it. I'm going to ask you while we're awaiting Ms. Campbell to review those documents, please.
Yes,
And Attorney Jarris has indicated that they are different from the others, that there is information there that would indicate that you did receive some of these things. So that would be the testimony that I would expect her to elicit about those. But I obviously need to see them, and they're not coming through for me. So what time, if you could just tell me what time you sent that document, Attorney Jarris?
I copied myself and it showed up for me at 9:42.
Oh, you received it at 9:42. It doesn't show when you mailed it?
I get it almost instantaneously.
Okay. Well, that's only four minutes then. I had thought you had sent it earlier than that.
Yeah, I sent it at 9:42.
Okay. Well, when the IT person can't do anything, and when I can't do anything, I think we've just got a problem here with this platform, working with the equipment and connection that I have here. When it works very well. It worked very well yesterday. But when it doesn't work, it's a real problem.
So Ann Mection's testimony is unrelated to this impeachment exhibit, and should we start with her and then come back to this?
Well, it's not the way I typically like to do things, but it is a good suggestion, and that may be the best way. I think we're all in agreement that we'd like to get this completed today. Is Ms. Campbell, is that true? You want it finished today?
Yes.
And you, Attorney Jarris, yes, sure. I assume you do too?
Yes.
So we can maybe change the presentation of testimony, and I do have my internet active now. So then I guess in a sense we will leave Ms. Campbell's, she has submitted her case in chief, although that impeachment, those impeachment questions would relate would relate to that. I think I'm just going to kind of suspend the typical way that we go through these things by rote, where there's the complainant's testimony, complainant completes case in chief, including responding to any cross-examination. And actually, perhaps that's where to go at this point. If we're thinking about jumping to Ms. Mection's testimony, which is perfectly fine with me to be able to move things along. But before we do that, Ms. Campbell, Attorney Jaros had asked you a number of questions, and you responded to them, the cross-examination. Do you have any redirect? It's called redirect. That would allow, will think that the cross-examination is over for the moment. Do you have anything that you wish to respond to those cross-examination questions that were asked?
No.
Okay. So there is none from that. I'll also give you an opportunity after we deal with this potential impeachment document. So, okay, what I can do then is we'll go on at the moment to Ms. Mection, and let me see how I can get her in. All right, I'm going to admit her. Have you let her know, Attorney Jaros?
If she's not right there, Kim, is your office close to her? You just go tell her to.
Yeah, it said she was waiting in the lobby, so
She's showing up on my screen, but I don't see her video
oh,
turned
good.
on.
Want me to go
Yeah.
troubleshoot with her? Okay, I'll be back.
Can you hear me?
We can hear
Is
you. We
this
can't see you.
I'm coming. It takes a
Oh,
while.
there
I
she
have to
is.
call in.
Okay.
Yep, I'm here.
Kim's running down
oh,
to
there,
your office, but it seems like
Oh,
we're fine.
awesome. I can actually see you, Ms. Mection, as this is Administrative Law Judge Beverly Crossan, and I am conducting the hearing. Having some connection problems that are likely related to my home computer setup. But the important thing is to be able to see the person who is testifying. So I can see you, I can see Ms. Campbell, and I can see myself, which I really don't need to. It's taking up one of the screens. But there I am. So Attorney Jaros, do you want to wait for Ms. Pinch to come back, or do you
She's
want to
back.
begin?
I'm here.
Okay. All right, then, Ms. Mection, we're going to take your testimony right now. Attorney Jaros will be asking you some questions, and then Ms. Campbell, you'll have an opportunity to cross-examine Ms. Mection as well. So I'm going to swear you in, Ms. Mection. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and I can hear you all right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. You don't have a headset, do you?
No, I'm on an open phone.
Oh, that what's all right. Um, so you don't have audio from your computer. The audio is actually from your phone.
Yes, so the audio in my computer sometimes makes me sound like Darth Vader. So I don't like to use it because then I have to switch to phone. So
Okay, terrific. All right, Attorney Jaros, go ahead with your questions.
I don't know that you've been. Did we swear?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
Sorry.
she's.
Okay.
No, thanks.
Okay.
So I want to make sure everybody's sworn before they testify. No problem. Go ahead.
Okay. Ms. Mection, what is your highest level of education attained?
Bachelor's of Science, Human Resource Management as the major.
And what is your present position at UW-Madison?
My present position is UW HR Manager Advanced.
And in what's your work unit?
School of Medicine, Public Health.
So you don't work for UW Health or UW Hospital, is that correct?
Correct, I do not.
Okay. And how long have you held that position?
I've held my position in SMPH for 7 years.
And was that your first position at the university?
No,
How long have you worked for the university?
I've worked for the university for 18 years.
And was it always in an HR role?
No, I started out as a financial specialist, and I was a financial specialist for 5 years, and then obtained my degree, my bachelor's degree. But at the same point, I started an HR position before I got that degree.
So how long have you been in HR roles at the university?
Sure, I've been 13 and a half years,
Okay.
close to 14.
Could you please generally describe your duties in your present position as Human Resources Manager Advanced?
Yes, so my official title is UWHR Manager Advanced. My working title is Employment Relations Manager for the School of Medicine Public Health. I have oversight over compliance with FMLA and ADA for the School of Medicine and Public Health. And then I also, in my employment relations role, I conduct investigations, approve layoffs, advise supervisors, advise employees on policies and procedures and resources on campus.
Who is your supervisor?
My supervisor is Associate Dean for HR in School of Medicine Public Health, and that's Hope Broadus.
And does the radiology department have any supervisory role over you?
No.
Can you repeat who your supervisor is, please? I didn't catch that, Ms. Nixon.
Sure. Hope
Associate Dean of,
Human Resources.
okay, at the University of Wisconsin.
University of Wisconsin-Madison School of Medicine Public Health. And do you want her name?
I got, I think you said Hope. Yeah.
Broadus.
I'm going to just ask a clarifying question, which is that you are not, I understand that Attorney Jairus is making clear that you're not part of the radiology department, but your ultimate employer is the UW School of Medicine and Public Health?
Yes.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead, Attorney Jairus.
Okay. And do you supervise any employees?
Yes. I
How
supervise
many?
currently 3.
And what are their roles?
I have a leave coordinator, and her role is approving FMLA leaves and compliance for SMPH, School of Medicine. Divisional disability rep, who oversees the accommodation process for the School of Medicine Public Health. And then I have an employee who does employment relations / investigation consultant.
And do you yourself have experience conducting employment relations investigations?
Yes.
And for how many years do you think you've been doing that?
I've done it in like a capacity more in the last 3 years, but I did do it substantially before that in my HR roles, but not as much as I have in the last 3 years.
Are you familiar with the UW-Madison's probationary policy for university staff?
Yes.
Could you please describe your understanding of it in general terms?
So the probationary policy is, it's basically the probationary period is for a supervisor to assess the skill or the ability for an employee to do the job within a certain amount of time.
Do you know whether Ms. Campbell would have been required to serve a probationary period for her position in radiology?
Yes.
And so yes, she was
Well, your
required.
answer, right.
Yes, she was required to have a probationary period.
Would Ms. Campbell have been required to serve a probationary period in radiology even if she had passed probation in another job at UW-Madison?
Yes.
And I believe I gave you a set of the documents. Do you have those with you?
Yes.
Could you please get out the binder that has more tabs in it?
Yep, the blue. Yep.
Could you please turn to Exhibit R21?
All right, let me get our R21. Oh, that's the first exhibit in, there it is. That's R21 is, starts on page 175. And I've got it on the screen. Ms. Mekshin, can you also see that on your computer screen?
Yes, I can.
Good, and Ms. Campbell, you can see it as well?
She's
Ms.
muted.
Campbell, you're muted. You're muted, Ms. Campbell.
Oh yeah,
Can you
sorry
see
about
it?
that. Yes, yes, I can see it.
Good, good, okay. Go ahead, Attorney Jaros.
Okay. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Is this the probationary policy for university staff that you just described?
Yes.
So would this policy have applied to Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
So if you could turn to the second page of this document, which has the Bates number of 176.
Did you say 176?
Yes.
Sorry.
Attorney Jaros, I'm losing some of your video or your audio. If you could speak clearly into the mic, please.
Yes, we're looking at page 176. Is this better? I think I actually bumped my mic before.
Yep.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Better.
So section or Roman numeral 4, extension of probationary period.
Mhm.
Would this policy have applied to Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
And could you please describe what your understanding of item 4 is?
So when there is the inability to evaluate the full cycle of a position and or things happen within that probationary period that need or qualify for an extension, like absences, things that modifications that maybe had to been made during the extension or during the probationary period, we will extend a probationary period.
And could you please describe your understanding of item 4 about failure to meet expectations during the probationary period?
So if an employee is failing to meet their job requirements or failing to perform, a supervisor has the right to terminate somebody on probation.
Okay, so you can set that aside.
Okay.
Were you involved in the decision to hire Ms. Campbell?
No.
Did you have any role in the supervision of Ms. Campbell?
No.
How did you first learn about Ms. Campbell's employment at the university?
I had first, probably when I met with her or reached out to her to meet with me in regards to some concerns that were coming out of the local department HR. They had been indicating that there was some complaints regarding the fiscal area and some potential climate issues. So I reached out to Ms. Campbell to interview her, to question her about her perception of the area.
And who did you speak with in the local HR area?
So it would have been Krista Noiser.
And who did Krista tell you was raising concerns about the financial area?
There was a few employees that were having concerns regarding Marie Rutan.
Do you recall who they were?
Yes, there were some concerns with coming from Brian Kohler, Raji, and I don't know how to say her full name, Raji, and the last name starting with a B, and then I think that was potentially it, but I know that there was probationary employees that potentially were also sharing some concerns.
And were you told anything about the nature of those concerns?
Just about intimidating behavior, employees not feeling comfortable with the supervisor, those type of things.
And were those concerns shared by these multiple individuals you identified?
Yes.
Okay. Could you please look at Exhibit 10, R10? And
Okay.
it's page 140, Bates page 142.
Yep.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
What is it?
An email that I received from Megan DeZuba, who works in the workforce relations area, regarding a HIB complaint.
And could you please explain what a HIB complaint is?
Sure. Hostile, intimidating behavior complaint.
Okay. And did you receive this before or after the conversation you had with Kristen Newser that you described previously?
That was after.
And who filed the HIB complaint?
Teresa Campbell.
And did Megan Zuzuba share any other information with you?
She shared notes from her discussion with Ms. Campbell.
At some point, did you start an investigation into these complaints?
So I had already started interviewing employees in regard to, because we had heard, again, a shared theme amongst some employees. So we'd already started it. So I added kind of the complaint into the process and looking into kind of the previous complaint of people complaining. We just added the HIB complaint onto that investigation.
And did you speak with Ms. Campbell as part of your investigation?
Yes, I spoke with her.
And did you review the notes Ms. DeZuba provided to you?
Yes.
And was Ms. Rutan Ms. Campbell's supervisor?
Yes.
Are you familiar with UW-Madison's university staff hostile and intimidating behavior policy?
I am.
Could you please describe your understanding of it in general terms?
Yes, so anytime that a employee colleague displays abusive expression, intimidating behavior, those type of any type of threatening behavior, intimidation, it could be supervisor, colleague, any of that, that would be considered hostile, intimidating behavior.
Could you please turn to Exhibit R32, which starts on Bates number page 230?
Yep.
I'll wait for it to come up on the screen.
Okay.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Is this the document you were describing before?
The judge is saying something.
I'm sorry.
The judge was speaking, but I don't know if it.
I had muted myself. Sorry about that. I do like, before we begin talking about exhibits, just to make sure everybody's got the exhibit and is looking at it. So I had just asked you, Attorney Jarris, if that begins on page 230?
Correct.
Just to make sure that we're all looking at the same. This is exhibit 32. We'll need to go a little slower with these to get me up to speed and make sure everybody else is. So
okay.
Starting on page 230, and Ms. Campbell, you also have that, correct? And you're
Yes.
muted. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Okay, go ahead, Attorney Jarris.
Okay. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Is this the policy you previously described?
Yes.
When you say policy previously described, are you talking about the HIB, the HIB policy?
Correct.
Okay, when you said previously described, we've talked about a lot of things, so I just wanted to know exactly what you were talking about. Okay, go ahead.
Does this policy address harassment on the basis of race, color, or gender?
No.
So you don't, okay. If an employee wanted an investigation of alleged discrimination based upon race or color or gender, is there an office at the university that would do that?
Yes, the Office of Compliance.
And is the Office of Compliance part of the School of Medicine and Public Health?
No, it's a UW-Madison campus run office, centrally.
Who made the decision to conduct a formal hostile and intimidating behavior investigation into Ms. Rutan?
So initially, again, as I heard themes that were coming in, we decided to go in and look since I had to get in there and investigate what was going on. But then we got the formal HIB complaint from Megan DeZuba. So in collaboration kind of with Workforce Relations, I took on the HIB complaint with the already beginning investigation into radiology's finance manager.
And although Megan DeZuba sent that to you, it's my understanding that she was sending you Ms. Campbell's complaint.
Correct.
Can you describe about how you went about your investigation?
Sure. So I reached out to the employees under Miss Marie Rutan, and I started to interview them. There were 6 interviews conducted, and part of that, then I met with also Miss Rutan, and then I created a report.
Could you please turn to Exhibit R36, which starts on Bates number page 245?
We'll wait.
All right. And rather than confirming, Ms. Campbell, every single one of these documents, if you have any difficulty finding them, please just let me know. Okay?
Fine. Yes.
Thank you. All right. Go ahead.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes,
What is it?
handwritten notes I took with my conversation with Ms. Campbell.
Okay. And there's a date on here that seems to predate the email you received from Ms. Jazuba. Could you explain the timing of that?
Yeah, I had already reached out to Ms. Campbell before she had filed the HIB complaint. So I met with her on September 11th, 2018.
And did you ask her about her supervisor during that meeting?
Yes, that was the main conversation. I was assessing kind of the complaints that I was hearing and concerns. So I was talking with all the employees.
Could you please review the document and after you do that, provide some general comments about what you recall Ms. Campbell's concerns were?
Yeah, so she had shared that it's hard to verbally communicate with Marie, made her feel stupid. She felt like she was being treated different. Basically, she had made a comment, she felt like her kind of comments were condescending based on the comments that she was making towards her, like, I'm asking if you need help. She felt like she had loud behaviors, sometimes intimidating. She mentioned that she would get red in the face, but also very rigid, micromanaging. Her work was under a microscope. Yeah.
Thank you. Did you ask Ms. Campbell whether she thought Ms. Rutan behavior towards her was due to her race?
Yeah, so she made a comment in the interview, you guys are violent, is what Ms. Campbell quoted to me. And so at that point, I asked a question, do you think it's due to your race? And she mentioned not racial or ethnicity, like it's not about racial or ethnicity. She thought this was her behaviors.
And did you make any notes about that?
Yeah, so the last page, 249, right in the middle of the page, because, yeah, I put not racial or ethnicity.
Can you read the rest of that paragraph?
Micromanage and control a couple of times with typos. She's trying to prove to everyone how incompetent she is, that Ms.
Okay,
Campbell is.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Did any other employees express concerns to you about Ms. Rutan?
Yes.
Do you recall who?
Brian Kohler.
Okay.
How do you spell his last name?
I'm gonna have to go by memory. Koeh, I think, Ler.
Kohler. Okay, got it. Thank you. That's even if that's
hope
not, I
hope
just
got it
wanted to
right.
make sure I was hearing it properly. Yeah, don't worry about the exact spelling. Thank you.
Who was Brian Kohler's supervisor?
Marie Rutan.
Could you please look at Exhibit 29
on page 2. It looks like it begins on page 213.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
there is
Ms.
the spelling. The spelling is right. Good for you.
I'm
Ms. Ma-
visual. I'm visual. So I have to remember.
Ms. Mixon, do you recognize this document?
Yeah,
What is it?
it's meeting notes from the interview with Brian Kohler.
And did you take these notes?
No, I had a note taker, Lee Chetnick.
Could you please look them over and let me know whether you think they accurately represent your meeting with Mr. Kohler?
Yeah.
And the last page looks a little different. Could you explain
What page is that? Are you talking about last page?
217?
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So Brian had asked to meet again a second time before the investigation was complete. He was having real concerns with Miss Rutan. And so he wanted to meet with me a second time. So I met with him alone. So these are just my quick jotted down notes in a conversation with him. He wanted to let me know that Miss Rutan was still bullying or being intimidating towards him.
And from the first page of this exhibit, which is page 213,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I'll wait for,
Sure, I'll go back. Thank you. I'll go back up to 213. All right.
it looks like this is dated September 25th, 2018. Is that the date you met with Mr. Kohler?
Yes.
And
The
do you,
original time, not the second time, but yes, the first time.
could you briefly describe the nature of the concerns he made about Ms. Rutan during your initial interview?
Yeah. Brian found Miss Marie Rutan to be condescending, gaslighting him, would turn things around on him. Multiple people described Marie Rutan as insecure because she was coming into this role. And basically, he was intimidated by her. He also had requested HR to attend the meetings with him, his one-on-one meetings with Marie Rutan.
Okay, and going back to page 2017, or
2017?
217.
Sure, okay.
I'm like,
Let's see.
2017? Where?
Yeah. Oh, please, no. Thank goodness. Okay, there we are.
So these, I think you testified, were your notes from a second meeting with him. Did this take place before you finalized your report of the investigation?
Yes.
And what kind of concerns did he raise during this second meeting?
He just felt like there was no changes in behavior, more the same. He also was indicating another employee was kind of bullying too, and Marie would support the bully. So
Okay.
it was another employee. He had shared that.
Okay.
Uh,
So
it was more about the supporting the other employee that was kind of bullying him too, that she was bullying him to do her work. So it was kind of like in the realm of Marie Rutan, but it was also about another employee.
Okay. Could you please turn to exhibit R28?
Okay, I'd like to just ask one question about Brian Kohler to Ms. Mection. What is Brian Kohler's race?
He is white.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. And now, what exhibit do you want to go to, Attorney Jares?
Exhibit R28
Okay,
starts on page 206.
got it. Thank you.
Sorry, this chair is not comfortable. You guys see me? I feel like I'm falling off of it.
Oh, don't do that.
Do you recognize this document?
I do.
What is it?
It's meeting notes from Donna Christian, I think is how you pronounce her last name, interview. She's an employee.
And it looks like you had a note taker here again, is that correct?
Correct. Pania Lee Chetnik.
Could you please look through these and let me know if you think they accurately represent your interview with Donna Christian?
Yes.
And it looks like this interview took place on September 20th, 2018. Is that correct?
Correct.
And this was again about your investigation into hostile and intimidating behavior on the part of Ms. Rutan.
Yes.
Could you please describe what Ms. Christian, her concerns she raised about her supervisor?
Ms. Christian raised concerns, but was more about kind of the climate of radiology and the need to be need to have perfection. Can you hear me? Sorry, there's something going on, but the need for perfection in radiology. Radiology has a very demanding perfectionist type of requirement for their employees. And that was more what she talked about. She was also on probation at that time.
Did you ask Ms. Campbell has testified that during a staff meeting, Ms. Rutan made a comment that somebody wasn't passing probation and did so in a way that identified Ms. Campbell. Did you ask Ms. Christian about that?
I did, because she was the other employee that was on probation, and she could not confirm that.
Did you ask a similar question to Mr. Kohler?
I did.
And what was his response?
He could not confirm that either.
And for Ms. Christian, is that reflected in your note, in the meeting notes from your interview?
I know it was. Just have to find it here. She did recognize that Ms. Campbell was having performance concerns.
Would you point out, please, where on the document you're going, just so we can all be looking at that?
Yeah, I'm just looking.
Sure.
Top of page 209.
Yeah. I thought it was on 209. So was employee at meeting where it was announced that one person on probation was not going to pass probation or not be here. And she stated, no, employee did not hear that. Employee had heard during discussion about annual reviews, Marie Rutan say if you pass probation, you get an annual review, is what she believed she said. So there's a discussion about annual reviews, and probationary reviews are separate from that. That's my understanding.
Okay. All right. Could we please turn to Exhibit 30? Oh, what race was Ms. Christian?
White, I believe.
Okay.
Did you say 30?
Yes.
Right.
219. Do you recognize this document?
I do. Meeting
What is
notes.
it?
Meeting notes. And Pania Lee Chetnick was the note taker.
And it looks like this meeting was on September 21st, 2018. Is that correct?
Correct.
And could you please briefly look through these and let me know if you think they're an accurate recollection of your conversation with Ranji Bahitharan?
Yes. Yes, it does.
I'm sorry to take you back, but I don't think I asked you. Do you recall what Ms. Christian's position was?
What her what?
Do you recall what her job position was, Ms. Christian?
I believe it was a financial specialist.
Okay. Do you remember, or do you know who her supervisor was?
Marie Rutan.
Okay. No, now I really am going to ask you. I think, did you confirm that? I forgot if I asked you this. Did these notes accurately represent your interview with Ranji Bahitharan?
Yes.
And do you know what her position was?
She's a higher level position, like accountant, I think, of some sort.
And do you know who Ms. Bahitharan's supervisor was?
Marie Rutan.
And could you briefly describe what concerns Ms. Bahitharan raised about Ms. Rutan during that meeting?
Yeah, her concerns came out that she felt like Marie repeated her, like almost like a child. She basically felt like she knew more than Marie Rutan, and Marie Rutan was trying to kind of like come into her position or take over duties. She wanted her to train her in all her work. She felt like Marie would get offended by any comments that Raji would make. And yeah, she was concerned because, and it was almost to the point that she wanted to retire because she didn't want to work with Marie.
Do you know whether or not Donna Christensen ever left her position in radiology?
I believe she did, but I want to say I had heard, and again, I'm going this by hearsay, after this,
Okay.
Donna left, like
That's
shortly
fine.
after. But I don't, again, I'd have to look at her job history to remember.
Did she tell you during your meeting with her whether that she was considering leaving?
Are you talking about Don Christian or Ranji?
Donna Christian.
Donna Christian. Okay.
I have to look at my notes, I would say. I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. Did you interview Ms. Rutan as part of your investigation?
Yes.
Let's turn to Exhibit 31, R31, which is page 226. Do you recognize this document?
Yes. This is my notes in my interview with Marie Rutan.
Okay. Did you type these notes up yourself?
Yes, I didn't have a note taker available, so I had to.
Did you
Sorry,
believe they? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, there's people talking in the hallway. What'd you say?
Did you finish your answer about these notes being?
Yes, they were done by me. I didn't have a note taker available.
So do they accurately represent your conversation with Ms. Rutan?
Yes.
Did you ask Ms. Rutan whether or not she said during a staff meeting that she said one of the employees is not going to pass probation?
I did.
And what was her response?
So it's on the bottom of 227. It's the last sentence on there, but no, I did not. I would have said coming into September, I explained that we had to do them for non-probationary employees. Probationary are on their own time frame within the probationary periods, not going in the system till next year, meaning we weren't doing probationary evaluations in PMDP, but we were closing in on our annual review cycle for SMPH's probationary. So my take is that there was two different things she was talking about.
And you used a new acronym there, PMDP. What is that?
That's a performance management system that we utilize for our employees' reviews to be housed in. Sorry. HR's all acronyms. My apologies.
Okay, it's okay. I'll try and ask you.
Okay.
Did you ask Ms. Rutan whether she had weekly meetings with Ms. Campbell?
Yes. That she did, but she understood that they were having communication issues, so she started doing things a lot more in writing. She did have one-on-ones with others before July. We were interacting daily. She said she was interacting with training schedules, writing templates, open forum. She would review issues that were reoccurring, so she was always feeling like she was available.
Yes. Did you ask Ms. Rutan whether or not she told Ms. Campbell you don't talk like we do?
Yes. Let me look in this document. She stated, "No, I have not. I have said that we're not."
Can you tell me where you're
Sure.
looking, please?
Yep. 228. And if you go down to the middle of the page, it says, "Have you stated to TC when you have edited our emails and other documents, you don't talk like we do?" Do you see that?
I did. Thank you.
Yep. She stated, "No, I have not. I have said that we are not conversing well. We had challenges between me and her. I would express concern on how we can communicate so we are effective." She didn't want to deal with it. She didn't know how to respond to that. She communicates her way, I communicate my way. You communicate the way you communicate. She couldn't do it verbally, so we started putting things in writing. It was a secondary feedback and used it as a reference. Within a month of hiring her, it was to clarify communication and use as a reference.
Thank you. Does UW-Madison collect data about employees' race?
Yes.
And how does the university do that? Where do we get the information from? I guess it's a question I really want to ask.
Yeah. The employee has to input that data.
And are they required to?
No.
Could you please turn to Exhibit 42? Starts on page 341. Or sorry, that's the cover page. The exhibit starts on page 342. Do you recognize this document?
I do.
What is it?
This is a report we can pull for diversity by employee out of UW systems, and this is an acronym because I don't know the correct name, but OBIEE. It's a system that we use to pull data on employees.
Did you generate this document?
I did.
And when did you do that?
October 14th, 2020.
And could you please explain what data you were pulling?
So I can only pull current employees. And so I pulled the current employees that I interviewed during my investigation in 2018.
And is Brian Kohler one of the individuals for whom you pulled data?
Yes.
And what's listed for his ethnicity?
It is white. It's on page 344.
And it looks like Ms. Christian and Ms. Beheatheron are not listed on this document. Is that correct?
Correct, because they're not current employees.
All right, I'm looking at that page. I believe I'm on the right page. What did you say? 343?
344.
Oh, 344. Okay.
Yeah,
Get to
this is
that.
old.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I've got it. Thank you.
Yep.
So it looks like, Ms. Mection, if you could confirm that on the top of each page, this is printed out on multiple page,
Yeah,
that the top row on each page is about Mr. Kohler.
correct. The top row. Yep.
Okay, so I think you explained why Ms. Christian and Ms. Beheatheron aren't on this report. And you previously described what you believe Ms. Christian's race to be. Is that correct?
Correct. I believe she was white.
And what did you perceive Ms. Beheatheron's race to be?
She is of a different race, but I can't identify what race that is.
Do you believe she's white?
No.
Do you believe she's black?
No.
Thank you. Did you form any conclusions from your hostile and intimidating investigation regarding Ms. Rutan?
I did.
And what were they?
That Miss Rutan did, there was a perception amongst her employees that she was intimidating. We found a theme of that.
And did you document your conclusions in any way?
I did in a report.
And, oh, sorry. Sorry.
No problem.
I thought I had figured out how to turn that off, but I guess I was just lucky yesterday. Okay, let's turn to Exhibit 27. It starts on page 203. Do you recognize this document?
I do.
What is it?
My report that I created regarding the Marie Rutan complaint.
And does it accurately reflect your conclusions following the investigation?
Yes.
Could you look on the first page of this exhibit and look at there's a section that says starts with a bold allegations. Could you read the second sentence of that paragraph for us?
Sure. Original complaint came from one employee, but after interview with witnesses, there was found others with concerns.
I guess go on and do the next sentence as well.
Sure. The behavior identified with multiple employees feeling uncomfortable to speak with her. She makes comments with sarcasm, patronizing manner, showing superiority over someone, and displaying intimidating behavior in her responses.
So does that accurately summarize what you heard from multiple employees?
Yes, the allegations, yes.
Okay, and could you flip to the next page of this exhibit?
Sure.
Could you please read the first sentence of your findings section near the bottom of the page? I think we need it, yeah, there.
At least 4 staff have stated they had issues with how Marie communicates.
And does that accurately summarize your findings?
Yes.
And is there anything you can elaborate on the types of issues folks
Sure.
raised?
For this, yes, and just condescending, intimidating behaviors.
Did you share the outcome of the investigation with anyone?
Yes. Kim Pinch is who I sent it to, who supervises Marie Rutan. And then I CC'd the department administrator, Margaret Bierencott.
Did you share this report with Ms. Campbell?
No, I did not.
And why not?
Because this is a sensitive matter, and we include information in regards to recommendations of next steps for the employee accused, we do not share with the employee.
And by the employee, you mean Ms. Campbell?
Ms. Campbell, yes, the sensitive report.
Did you make any recommendations about how the department should follow up on the findings in your report?
I did. As the recommendation stated, setting expectations on our communication with our staff. And it says that I could work with Kim and Margaret to identify expectations. So that is in a letter that is drafted for a letter, what we call a letter of expectation. I almost called it by its acronym, sorry. Basically, clearly, I was telling them that we need to set expectations for Marie to make sure her employees, they set expectations so that her employees will feel comfortable.
And it looks like you're referring to your recommendation section at the very bottom of the page.
Yes, in 204.
Okay. Could we please turn to Exhibit 33? Which starts on page 234. It's 2 pages, but all the substance is on the first page. Do you recognize this document?
I do.
What is it?
It's an email string between me and Teresa Campbell.
And could you just summarize your understanding of this email string?
Yeah, so she was thanking me for the copy of her employee file. She wanted to know what the final decision or status from the HIB allegation. I noted to her I've concluded the investigation. I've shared my findings with the department leadership and just let her know, as this is a sensitive personnel matter, I appreciate your understanding regarding my inability to provide details regarding the personnel investigation outcome and corrective steps taken.
And when you say HIB investigation, that's the hostile and intimidating
Yes,
investigation.
hostile, intimidating behavior.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Previously, Ms. Campbell has testified that her probationary period was extended. Were you involved in that decision?
So those decisions do go through me. I have to approve of extensions. And so, yes.
Do you know what the rationale was for that extension?
Sure. Since we had a HIB investigation going on and Ms. Campbell was not comfortable with her supervisor, it was in a discussion with the department that we decided to extend. This would be a reason we would potentially extend a probationary period to make sure, the employee felt comfortable to move forward with a different supervisor and go and extend that probationary period. Sorry, did I answer your question?
Yes, and I'm formulating a follow-up question, but doing it very slowly. So I need to find a different exhibit.
Hi, while we're waiting here, I note that it's getting close to 11 o'clock. We have not taken a break. We typically do that at some point before lunch. So, Attorney Jarris, do you have many more questions for Ms. Mection?
I would say I have gone through 3 3/4 of a pages of questions, and I have 1 1/4 pages left.
Okay, well then what I would suggest at this point while you're reviewing your documents is that we take a little break. And I have my clock here says 10:53. I'm thinking about a break to 11 o'clock. Ms. Campbell, would that give you sufficient time for a refreshing break?
Yes.
Attorney Jarris?
Yes, that would be appreciated.
And Ms. Mection, is that good?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll reconvene then at 11 o'clock. I do note that I've gotten the email. I'm going to, from you, Attorney Jarris, about your possible impeachment. I will take a look at it. And of course, we'll wait until after Ms. Mection's testimony, but I have received it, just so you know.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we'll reconvene. I'm going to stop the recording now. But we'll reconvene at 11. Thanks.
Thank you.
Do I just leave this running?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, I'm like, I don't want to touch it.
Yes, leave everything running. You are absolutely right, and you can
Okay.
just go and do what you want till
Okay,
11.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm in